and Michigan's Best, and we continue our podcast series focusing on Michigan sugar, makers of Pioneer Sugar. And today I'm happy to welcome Kevin Messing, who's a field consultant for Michigan Sugar. Kevin, welcome.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me.
Now I'm going to get right to the main question. What is a field consultant, and what the heck do you do for Michigan Sugar?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the title is, I guess, for those familiar with ag, it's more descriptive, but what we do, we are basically the conduit between our grower owners and the company. And so we work directly with the farmers to basically help maximize their sugar beet crop on their farm every year. So with all things agronomic, I guess you could say, is what we deal with.
So you're kind of like the eyes and ears on the ground in the field, assessing issues, problems, good things that are happening, and then sharing that with the farmers?
Absolutely. So we have our own in-house research team, and a lot of our good information comes from them and also university research. And then we kind of formulate best practices, and we work with our growers and with their abilities on their farm as individuals, how to best implement those. That way, you know, as a co-op, as the growers prosper, so does the company. And so the best crop the growers can have, the better for them, but also better for the company, because all our returns go to the growers.
Right, of course. And so for those who don't know, Michigan Sugar is a co-op model. You have over 900 family farms that work together with you guys, growing the sugar beets that then get turned into this beautiful red bag of sugar, which I like. So I'm guessing, Kevin, that you have kind of probably a multifold approach. You probably have long-term planning for growers, as well as maybe things that happen kind of immediately during the season.
Yeah. And so right now is actually kind of a funny time of year. While we're wrapping up harvest, for us on the ag staff working with growers, we're turning our attention to next year already, as in next spring. And so we have the last of our research results coming in, and we're about to start planning for next year. Our seed varieties that will be able to be grown are going to get approved for our growers, and we're going to start meeting with growers individually through the winter to place those for best possible outcomes, planning for next year, how to keep the crop healthy through the growing season, and kind of reviewing what happened this year and how can we build on that and improve for next year.
Interesting. So Kevin, how did you become a field consultant? I'm going to guess that you studied agriculture, maybe at MSU?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a roundabout way. I grew up on a farm. I went to school for engineering, but as I was finishing that, realized my heart really was in ag, and I started out working for Gerber Baby Food and got a chance for Michigan Sugar almost 8 years ago to move back home. And so I jumped at the opportunity and have never looked back.
That's fantastic. So you're from the Bay region then?
Yeah, I actually grew up in Huron County over by Bad Axe.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, if you go over to the Bay Area and you drive around the Thumb and stuff, you will see tons of sugar beet fields, which you might not know are sugar beet fields. We also see some of the factories that Michigan Sugar operates. And all of these farms they're family owned, but yet they're working as the cooperative model with Michigan Sugar. So tell me what a day looks like for a field consultant at Michigan Sugar.
Yeah, and so like I said, through into fall and winter, we're planning for next year. So we're doing a lot of one-on-one grower visits. We have educational meetings. So we spend a lot of time individually with the growers trying to plan for next year. And as we move into spring, that changes more, where we're finalizing our plans, but also growers get into the field. And so we do as well. So we spend time checking fields as they're coming up, looking for issues that may arise in the spring. Sometimes cold weather, disease issues will hamper a crop. And so a grower may have to make a decision on replanting a field or making, how to best alleviate the issues. Summertime, it's a lot of walking fields. We work with growers then as they're still keeping that crop healthy, but we're also trying to get a handle on how big that crop is going to be, because as the field staff, we relay back to the company what we think that crop will do, and that determines when they start processing too. And so it's depending on crop year, the information we pull out and give back to them determines how they make plans in the factories too, how soon they need to be ready and when they get started. And so summertime, it's a lot with growers, a lot in fields, dealing with things as they come up. But then fall time, we transition more towards harvest, and we help coordinating some of the early harvest, working with growers, and then kind of just relaying into fall and timing of our last applications to keep that crop growing and healthy, and advising them on what to do.
Now, if I'm
Basically
not
throughout the
mistaken, this year you guys kind of started harvesting a little bit early because you knew the crop was going to be a big one, right?
Did, yeah, in both facets. Our early harvest started as early as we ever have on August 10th this year. We saw a lot of great potential in the field, and so we decided to go early after the crop. And it wasn't a record crop by any means, but it was the amount of acres we had planted kind of necessitated that. And even as you may recall, mid-October, it got pretty chilly, almost like an early winter almost came through. And so we started stockpiling our beets early on the 16th of October as well. And so while it's been in the 70s the last 4 or 5 days, most of our crop has actually been harvested to this point. So both sides are our early harvest, and then when we stockpile for winter processing, we got an early start on all of it this year.
Well, probably for the best, right? Just get the work done, then you can move on to spring.
Yeah. Well, we had drier conditions this year, and compared to last year where it was a wet, muddy fall and growers really struggled, this year was a nice change. Growers were happy, field conditions were good, and things went very well.
So how many people, Kevin, are on the field consulting staff at Michigan Sugar?
Sure. So I believe there are close to 12 of people in the same role as me. And then we have our managers are agronomists, and then we have 2 or 3 over in our research department full-time, as well as a number of seasonal people that work through the growing season to help research as well. So there's upwards of 20 of us directly dedicated to the crop and the ag department at Michigan Sugar.
Wow. Now, you guys have an on-site lab at Michigan Sugar, right?
Yes. So they have the research department has their own facility and a lab there as well, plus where all of our grower samples are run through the Bay City factory. So yeah, they do, they store and process their own sugar samples, but then we work with our growers and do, I believe the last number I heard was upwards of 120 acres of strictly research trials. And these are, 15 feet by 40-foot blocks of research over that many acres. So it's a very big undertaking for that group.
Oh, I bet. So say somebody was they're interested in agriculture, they're trying to think of what kind of careers are out there. What would you say to them? What would you recommend to them as how to get it maybe to work at a place like Michigan Sugar or to become a field consultant?
Yeah, sure. So Michigan State University has a great ag program, and they actually partner with Delta College in the Bay Area with a 2-year technical program, but also a transfer degree to get into 2 years at Delta, and I think 2 at Michigan State to get a 4-year degree. Michigan Sugar does hire interns in our ag department as well. And so every year we bring in some people that have an interest in ag and sugar, and a lot of them are originally from the area, but not all of them are. Not all of them come from beet growing families. So
but you can still have a career in agriculture.
Absolutely. My family didn't grow beets when I was younger, but we do now, and it's been since I worked here we started. So
that's awesome. Well, it sounds like your job is something a little bit different every day. Lots of time outdoors in the fields, working with your grower owners. It sounds like it's really interesting.
That's what I love. I like the diversity of it and being outside and working with the growers. That's really that's my favorite part of the job, is working with the growers and being able to watch them succeed and work with them hand in hand. So
and I like that what you just said, that you work with them hand in hand, because that's how getting to know Michigan Sugar, that's what I felt throughout the whole company, is that you guys truly are working together as a team with your grower owners.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, that every grower is different, but they're all fun. I enjoy every one of them. And it's just, not every year brings different growing conditions, and they're not always a success, but to work with them and the years where everything goes right, it's a lot of fun. And to see that growers enjoy doing what they do, growing beets, and then to see them end up on the bag and the shelf at the grocery store is cool.
That's the part I like the best, and in my pie.
Yep.
Well, Kevin Messing, if people want to get more information about Michigan Sugar, maybe look at some career possibilities, where should they go?
That would be michigansugar.com, and there's a tab under the career there's something, and there's a tab for careers right there. So with
There
all job
is.
postings as well. So
There is. Well, Kevin Messing, who's a field consultant for Michigan Sugar, thank you so much for joining us.
thank you. Thank you, Amy.
If you want to follow along on our podcast series featuring Michigan Sugar, makers of Pioneer Sugar, you want to head to our Facebook page, Michigan's Best.